how I'm designing my August bullet journal spread. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do for this one. Kind of wanted to do something a little different, but I also wanted it to be very simple. The last spread that I did was a little bit more time consuming and a little bit more, not complicated, but it just was, there were a lot of different details in it. So I wanted this month to be a little bit more simplified, but also creative. So I've been playing around with my sketchbook and just doing a bunch of random sketches. I feel like I've kind of, not feeling burnt out when it comes to art, but just kind of maybe a little blocked. And so one of my favorite things to do and draw is like architecture pieces and different like buildings and things like that. Most of my brand is related to flowers and botanicals and different like floral designs and patterns and things like that. And I love that. But I think I've been kind of missing some of the architecture pieces. And so I spent a night and just did like 4 different pages of just something different than the floral botanical things. And it just felt really good to do something a little bit different, and it's kind of sparked some different ideas and stuff for my patterns and all of that. So anyway, one of the things that I sketched was this lighthouse kind of on this like cliff side, and there's water and everything. So I'm just going to show you the little painting, and it's inspired by this spot in Maine, and I just thought it was really pretty. I still have a few more details that I want to finish up with this one, but this kind of gave me the idea to maybe do like a little lighthouse like on the water for the month of August. So that's what I ended up doing, and I just kind of replicated this little painting that I did, and I used a photo on Pinterest as kind of a reference guide for this spot. So yeah, I'm excited to get into it. Again, this one is very simple, but I think it'll be good. So let's just go ahead and dive in and get started with this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I have my candles lit, I have all of my pens out, I have my paintbrushes and paints all ready to go, and I have already gone ahead and outlined everything in pencil just to kind of get everything in its place and where it's supposed to be. And I'm taking my 005 micron pen, which is the smallest size that I have, and I'm just kind of going over all of the different pencil sketches that I have outlined here. And this is the smallest size that I have of these pens because these little lines are very small, and I want to kind of make sure that I'm capturing all of the little details here. So it was a little not tricky to do this, but I'm someone that tends to work really close to the page, and so my instinct is to lean in forward, but whenever I do that it kind of blocks the view of the camera. So I've been trying to sit back a little bit more, which just makes me feel like I'm a little bit slower and don't always have the best maybe view of what it is that I'm working on. So I tried to be really careful with this, and I think I got most of the lines pretty straight, which was really nice. I also kind of will have a shakier hand when I'm filming these for some reason. I think I just don't feel as steady when I'm filming them as opposed to if I'm just like working on this on my own, because then I can like lean forward a little bit more where I feel a little bit more comfortable when I'm sketching these out. So anyway, all of that to say is I've been kind of working on my filming setup and trying to figure out the best way to do that where it also feels natural to me. And anyway, so the lighthouse had these little like buildings. I don't know if they're homes or shops or what, but they were kind of on the side of it, and I just kind of basically outlined the roof and kind of the windows and doors and things like that, and then it had a little fence in front of it, and I just kind of did a bare minimum little outline here. And then there was a little kind of mountain or hill, I don't know, it was kind of hard to tell, but we'll call it a little mountain in the background, and decided to go in and add details like a little bit later in when I was painting. So just kind of did a basic outline there, and then with the cliff I kind of added some basic lines for the shadows and a little bit of shading, not too much, but just a little bit. And most of these lines are like super scribbly. They're not perfect or anything like that, but this part is actually really fun for me to do because it's kind of scribbly and flowy and doesn't have to be perfect. And it's just kind of to give the impression that there's a bunch of different rocks here and kind of giving the direction of like where they're supposed to be going. And then the cliff too, kind of outlining the direction that it's at. And then I did a little bit of outlining for the pieces of water. So I just kind of did some scribbly lines there, kind of in the flow of where the water was kind of going. And yeah, again, this was super simple, very basic, but I think it adds like a nice little touch. And then I decided to write out the word August on the side here too. So yeah, just did like basic cursive font for the lettering here, and I think I've been working on my handwriting a little bit so it's not so shaky, and I feel like this one was pretty straight. So yeah, and then on the right side of the page, I decided to add a quote, and I don't know if the camera is really going to pick up on what it says, so I will read it to you, but it says, "Always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder." And I just really liked that and decided to add that here. I did have some empty space here and I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to fill it, so I figured a nice little quote would be perfect for it. And then I decided to add a little calendar for the month at the bottom of the page, and I also wrote out the word August too. So that was pretty much it for the outline. This did not take me a very long time, and it was also really nice to work on it. I just listened to some podcasts in the background and listened to some music, so it was very therapeutic to work on this one. The last month spread was a lot more in-depth and took a lot longer to do, so it was kind of nice that this one was pretty simple and didn't take quite as long. So yeah, after I finished this up, I went in with my watercolor paints, and I will say that this paper is not watercolor paper, and it is a little bit different to work with than if I were using a traditional watercolor paper. So it doesn't absorb the water as well, and it also dries a lot lighter than the original paint that I put on it. So I tried to not make these strokes really full of water. I wanted them to be a little bit more pigmented, and then I let it dry, and then I kind of assessed like if I needed to add more color to it. So it was a lot of layering, but I think it still turned out well. It's just trying to work with the paper. So I blended a few different blue and kind of green colors for the sky, and then I added a little bit of gray for the clouds, and then the rooftops were like a kind of red brown color, and then I went with kind of a gray with a yellow tone for the buildings, and then some different shades of green obviously for the mountain and some of the grassy parts on the cliffside. And then I blended up a lot of different colors for the rocks and the cliff. So I added a little bit of like a gray yellow color, and then I also added in kind of a blue gray color to kind of add some cool tones to it. And then for kind of the bottom side of the cliff, I did more of a darker gray, some blue tones there, some yellow tones. I just kind of varied it up a little bit, and yeah, slowly worked up the layers to this. I didn't want it to be too harsh of a dark color, but I wanted it to, kind of make it look like it was the cliff. So yeah, I played around with layering that for a while, and then I mixed up some light blues and kind of just filled in some of the water. I didn't go too detailed with the water part. I just kind of lightly covered it and did a few kind of, just some easy blue brush strokes around there. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And then I did take a super light gray for the lighthouse. So moving on to the weekly spread, I again wanted this to be very simple. So I just took that same outline that I did for the lighthouse and I replicated that here at the top of the page, and it was pretty easy to do once I had it like outlined in pencil, just kind of going over it again with pen. And then I added in a little bit of watercolor paint and added some kind of blue for the water, just kind of around it. So very simple, very minimal. And yeah, I felt like that worked well for that space. And then I did these kind of box grid for the days of the week, and I realized I'm running out of pages in my notebook, so I didn't have enough for each week of August to have its own page. So what I did was put 2 weeks on one spread. So that's why there's 2 weeks on here. So if you're wondering, but yeah, it was totally fine. I was able to make it work. But yeah, if I had had the space, I would have just not done the second week on this one, and I would have just had one full week on here. So yeah, and then I added in the word August and a little monthly calendar at the top of the right hand side, and then just used my regular cursive kind of font for the days of the week and wrote the dates right underneath it. So yeah, again, very simple, very minimal, and yeah, I think this will be really nice. I think this month is going to be kind of busy, so I'm kind of glad that this spread didn't take quite as long as the other ones, and I'm already trying to make plans for September. So yeah, I'm excited to start working on that one and kind of try to work ahead a little bit. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. You'll have to let me know what you think. And if you have any ideas for September or some of the fall months, I am already planning on figuring those out and kind of getting some of those done ahead of time. So yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.